Hey, this is Andy.
This is Mahoney.
From the start, check out our new album, Neighbors, and you are listening to Tales from the Dive Bar.
Tales from the Dive Bar. Dive in, guys.
Here I sit on a stool so far, 'cause it's Tales from a Dive Bar.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tales from a Dive Bar. It's JD and Raven for this session, and we have a two-time karate world champion, a stuntman. He's also an actor in the hit series Cobra Kai, and also my mechanic. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Huskisson. I thought you were 37 when I first met you. I was like, how did you get in karate and everything? Is that something you just jump into when you're a teenager, or?
Yeah, so I was about 6 years old when I started.
Really young.
I'm from a little town called Beecher, and there's a program called PAC that I've been with for going on almost 16 years. And I was actually at my babysitter's house, and her two kids went, so they took me one day, and it kind of just stuck. It's a complete charity, so it's free for everyone to go to, and I've just been there doing my thing for a long time. When I first started, my mom's favorite thing to say about it is, she's like, I thought some farmer in overalls would be teaching karate, and then now he's bred me into a world champion and going on to do stunts and stuff in movies, so it's going pretty good.
You've been on the set of a lot of things going on in Chicago, obviously, lately then.
Yeah, I've been on the set of more in Chicago than anywhere else, actually. I've been on set for Chicago Med, Chicago PD, Chicago Fire. I've been on set for this new production on Apple TV that's called Dark Matter. Super cool production. I really like the theme behind it. And then one that I was on actually just last week is called Ultraviolet. That'll be coming out pretty soon. It's a movie that they're filming in the city.
What was your biggest fight? Like, you went across the pond, or?
Yeah, I've been across the pond. So last year, actually, I ended up going to two separate circuits for their world championships. One is the World Karate Commission, and the other one is the World Karate Union. So they used to be one entity at a certain point, and then they separated, but their world championships were on different dates, so I decided I would hit both of them. And I won 2 world titles. One competition was in Greece, and the other one was in Portugal. So that was super fun. They happened to be one full week and then the next full week. So it was a really hectic 2 weeks, Ended up going Sweden to Greece, and then from Greece to Portugal. Ended up somewhere in Spain at some point, I think, in the flight. I don't know. I slept most of it. But this year I'm going back to Germany to defend my world titles. So it'll be...
World titles? Are you going to be in the Olympics then, or?
Unfortunately, with the Olympics, the only country that hosts karate in the Olympics is Japan, so I got to wait for it to go back to Japan before I can chase that dream.
Oh, wow.
Soon, though. As soon as it goes back there, I'm going to try and qualify and see how we go.
Yeah, the lucky thing is that you're young, so it doesn't. Yeah, you're fine.
I mean,
You'll make it. You'll make it there.
Like I said earlier, I thought you were 37, and then you're just like, oh yeah, dude. I'm like, I'm not even old enough to drink it. I was just like, wow, you've done a lot in a very short span of time. I mean, and he's got the full beard too. I mean, I wish I could have had that beard and mustache that he's got going on here.
On this, I probably sound like a little kid still, but face is all old man.
Well, that's what it is. And you showed us some of the fighting footage that you did, like the stuntman reel you have, and everything you're doing with the roundhouses, the punching, the blocking. It just looks so real. It looks like you're taking the hits. So that's why I could see you definitely being on Cobra Kai. Now that the series over and everything, what was that experience like? That
was probably one of the best experiences of my life. So a couple years ago, the union for stuntmen and actors and stuff, it was SAG for stuntmen and AFTRA for actors. Well, with all the AI stuff coming in, they went on strike. And when they were coming off strike, I had met a man who's very important to me. His name's Craig Henningsen. He was Spider-Man on Broadway, and he wanted to start his career as an actor and ended up becoming one of the biggest stuntmen around. And he's actually from Naperville, which is one of the karate places that I train. So I just met him by chance. And my life is full of surprises because I was in California for a competition, and I got a call, and they were, hey, do you want to come work for us on the set of Cobra Kai? And, I just answered the number on a whim, and I was like, absolutely, It's like, cool, we need you here by tomorrow. So me, had no idea where I was going to stay, no idea what I was going to eat, not that much money because I'm a kid. So I was like, screw it, let's take the leap. So I went out there. I ended up in an Airbnb with a couple of my friends that I knew that were on the show. And we were there. We started. I ended up being out there from February all the way into May. So it was super duper fun. It was probably one of the most grueling experiences on a set that I've had because it was just day after day after day with no breaks in it. And it was just, between 12 and one day we had 18 hours. It was just long days and then an hour drive back, then sleep, 2-3 hours, turn around, hour drive back to set.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they really beat you guys up though.
Yeah.
But now, like with all the success that it's got, no one would notice or think that, oh my God, there's a guy from here right out in the middle of, in between the boons of Crete in Indiana and Illinois. And you're just like, yeah, I've been on a set. I've watched the whole thing unfold. When you're doing
fixed my car.
Yeah. When you're doing the Cobra Kai stuff, do they have you doing the stunts, or is it a lot of standing around waiting for you guys to go? Or do they just say, okay, fight, and they just throw you into a scene and you already are coordinating with them?
So I got the lucky end of the stick, actually. I got to stand around for 99.9% of the time. And there were 2 or 3 days where they're like, okay, there's a huge fight scene. Everybody just, go and do something. And it ended up that I ended up being on camera just like grabbing somebody off the ground and throwing them around, which was super fun. But it was probably the first time that I'd ever done something that was like uncoordinated. And they're like, okay, go have fun. It was a really long day. It was a really fun day. I actually met a pro wrestler by the name of Austin Creed on that set, and that's who I got to throw around.
Is it WWE or AEW? He's I think in one of them now, isn't he? Or is it a local?
No, he was in WWE, and he had taken the contract outside. There was actually a representative from WWE to make sure that he didn't get hurt on set, so he couldn't claim anything.
Wow.
I assume.
Yeah, he couldn't break his finger or something.
Yeah.
And then,
It was super cool because he was standing there, and he was like, okay, dude, I want you to grab me and I want you to throw me. And me, I'm 6'1", 6'2", in between there, 185 pounds. This dude. All the WWE wrestlers look massive on camera
bulky,
and everything.
Yeah.
He's huge and bulky. He's like 5'9", 5'10", right?
So it's just you tower over him a little bit so you can stand there.
But at the same time, I'm like, my skinny little self, no one's going to believe me throwing you. He's like, dude, just do it. So I went and I grabbed him and I threw him. Boom. He just laid out on the concrete on his back, no pads, nothing. I was like, oh, that looked like it hurt. He's like, let's do it again.
Oh, man.
And then after like 2 or 3 times, the rep stepped in. He's like, hey, you really think this is a good idea? And it was super fun day of filming while I was out there. My travels have taken me, around the world. I got to meet a lot of interesting people, a lot of people that are famous. And, one of the best things is when you meet someone who's famous and they just act like a regular person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Super nice, just doing their thing. You wouldn't even know. It's like people don't even realize we walk amongst people who are rock stars in a certain sense.
Oh, absolutely. One of my favorite experiences with this guy named William Zabka. He was the original villain in the Karate Kid, and he came back for the Cobra Kai series to be one of the dojo senseis. So I actually I got introduced to him by my friend Una, and Una's a Chicago local who's also on the show. And she was like, yeah, this is Joe, blah, blah. He does karate. And the dude looked at me, oh, where do you do karate at? And I was like, oh, I'm from Sharky's Karate. And he's like, I heard of them. And it's just crazy about who knows who everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. It's such a small world.
What do you think about just being able to do that hyper dynamic thing to where you could say, yeah, I have my day thing I do. I have my side hustle. And then I also have this other thing that I'm really into on top of it, where it's like, we've seen your reel with, like I said before, with the punching and the kicking, the blocking, the throwing, it looks so real that I wouldn't know the difference between you guys hitting each other or not hitting each other. Do you practice that or work in that a lot on a regular basis?
Yeah, so I actually have a lot of videos on my phone, and I just take this punching bag that's shaped like a human. His name's Bob, right? It's short for body opponent bag. And I just set my camera up on a tripod, and I throw different punches, kicks, and I just make sure that it crosses the line on his face, make sure that it sells for the camera, aim for the body shots, make that little touch of connection, but not hard enough to actually hurt somebody. And just day in, day out, I do it all the time. You got to practice your craft to keep up your skill and keep improving.
You were telling me outside that you were a medic for an event, and all of a sudden they called you up. They decided to ring the bell and put you into the octagon. How did that go?
So that was actually in March. And I have a dear friend of mine. His name's James McDaniel, and his mom is like a second mom to me. And she was the main medic for a kickboxing event over in Hammond, Indiana. And her knowing that I love fighting and everything, she's like, do you want to come and be like my assistant medic? It's a ringside seat. I was like, well, what do I have to do? She said, basically nothing. You know, you check blood pressure and then I do the rest. I was like, sounds awesome. I'll be there to watch, you know. So I showed up, I get in, I'm sitting at ringside, and the lady who's sitting next to us, she starts asking questions, and, you know, I refer to her, Miss Becky, as my mom, so I'm just going to call her mom the rest of the time, right? And my mom, she's like, oh, yeah, you know, he fights, he does karate. Well, apparently the lady sitting next to us told the promoter that, and they had a semi-pro fight, which is shin guards but no headgear, for kickboxing at the event, for the 190-pound weight class. Unfortunately for the guy who was supposed to fight, he came down with something or some problem with his diabetes about 5 minutes before the fight started, so they were going to cancel it. Well, the promoter remembered that my ma had said that I know how to fight, so she
decided to suit you up.
Yeah, he walked over. He's like, hey, man. I was like, hey, man, what's up? He's like, you know how to fight, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, you ever kickbox before? I was like, nope. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, do you want to fight for me? I was like, what do you mean? You know, I'm helping out to be the medic. He's like, yeah, but we got 2 medics and there's paramedics over there. My fighter just dropped
I got a
out.
medic for you just in case.
Yeah.
Well, and of course the medic is my mom, right?
Yeah.
So
This guy has no idea who you are. Like, he's just thinking, oh,
Like,
I heard
hey.
that he can fight. I'll put him in with somebody. Like, he's not thinking like anything of like, this
Yeah.
guy could really get hurt if he goes out there, even if he's just, he
Well,
doesn't
I
realize
didn't-
you have a couple world-class championship
Yeah.
titles under you for karate at
yeah,
that
no.
point.
So it was super fun. So I had an injury in my left elbow at the time, and I looked at my mom, and she's like, well, Miss Becky, right? I looked at her, and she's like, you're an adult, you can do it. And I was like, my mom's probably gonna be mad. So I was like, hold on, let me go to the bathroom, you know, let me think about it for a minute and I'll come back. Well, I came back and my medical records were already filled out.
Oh my
and
God.
he was yelling at me. He's like, come on, let's go get some gloves.
Yeah, well, it's all good.
So he stuck me in the dressing room, and I get in there, and he's asking other fighters, hey, can he use your gloves? Hey, can he use your shorts? Hey, can he use your groin cup? I'm like, not that one. I refuse that one. I'll fight without one.
Offer to use a cape or something, or give you an extra shirt you can rip apart in between.
No, so I actually ended up, they were like, okay, you know, I need a mouth guard, gloves, shorts, shin pads. So they get me shin pads from one fighter, gloves from another, shorts from another. And I'm like, dude, I need a mouth guard. They're like, you don't need a mouth guard, just go. I was like, no, I need a mouth guard. I'd like to keep my teeth, please, right? So he comes back with a roll of duct tape, right? And it's an even old thing that I used to do for karate is you take a roll of duct tape and you roll it up and then you bite it and then you mold it to your teeth. So that's what I stuck in my mouth when I went in there. So I walked out there. They didn't have my name on a card, nothing. The ring announcer announced the other fighter's name, and he's like, oh, that fighter dropped out. We have fighting today. And my mom's like, his name's Joseph Huskisson, right? And he's like, Joseph Hutchinson. I was like, good enough. I walk out to the ring. I walk out to the ring, and nobody in there knows who I am, right? Because I don't have any name in the kickboxing world. And it's all local people that are there to watch their, you know, friends and families fight or whatever. And I go out in the ring and, you know, it's dead silent. There's no walkout music, nothing. So I'm sitting here and I look at my mom because she's sitting ringside at the medic table. I'm like, you know what? I got to make something happen. It's been boring all night. Nobody's been cheering, whatever.
What would have been the music or intro music you would have used?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard one. It probably would have been...
Shawn Michaels music? I think I'm cute.
No. No, absolutely not.
Absolutely.
Oh, God,
not.
that's a really hard question because I really like music.
Right?
I didn't mean to derail the train, but I was like, you know, if you're going to talk about the intro and I know you want to blow it up, I'd be like, all right, what would have it been if you had gotten the music you wanted?
Probably at that time, I was really into this artist called Big X the Plug, and it probably would have been Whip It because I really liked the intro to that song by him.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
But I
Oh my
walked out
God.
there and it was just completely dead, and I was like, screw it, I got to put on a show. Everybody here is bored out of their minds. They haven't seen one knockout tonight. You know, everybody's fighting like a wuss, so I'm just going to go out there and put on a show. So I'm standing in the middle of the ring, right? And everybody's just staring at me. And my mom's like, yeah. And that's the only person. I was like, screw it. Backflip. Boom.
All right, so you're throwing it up, you're about to put out a
Yeah.
full clinic for this.
Yeah,
race.
so I do that, and everybody's like, oh. I'm like, okay, cool. Got the crowd fired up, right? That's step one. Then they announce my opponent. They come out, right? So I was actually, at the time, 180 pounds, and he was 195. Well, if you know anything about fighting, you cut before a fight, so you're almost all muscle, and you're very lean, right?
So he's a lot stronger than you at that point. I mean, he's got a good 15 pounds of muscle. Is it his
Probably
advantage?
more like 20 pounds of muscle, because I had a little chunk on me at the time. I hadn't cut. I wasn't getting ready for a fight or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to hit him as hard as I can. And of course, I was in there, and I can't use my left arm because I had an elbow injury. I was like, screw it. So we get started. I start off slow. I end up just throwing a bunch of haymakers with my right hand, and I'm just blasting this dude around, right? And I'm not paying attention to anything that's happening, but apparently the crowd's going wild, right? When I start fighting or anything, even in karate or kickboxing or whatever it may be, I just get into a zone where everything else, nothing. It's just me and the other person.
Like a
We're just
tunnel vision
dancing.
or something.
Yeah, right? But apparently the crowd was cheering, whatever. We get through the first round, and some random people at the event came up, and they were like, okay, we're going to be your corner. So I'm sitting there. The other guy's on a stool getting showered with water,
Everyone
breathing heavy.
realized, whoa, this guy's real.
Getting the whole thing, right? And then I got these guys standing outside the cage just looking at me. Didn't give me water, nothing. They're just like, okay, so you need to start using your left hand. I was like, dude, I can't. It's like, why not? I was like, my elbow's messed up. I have a tendon messed up in my left elbow. They're like, oh, you're doing great, kid. Just keep going. Have fun.
Have fun.
You know what's wild about it, though? You could have probably hit him harder in that first round. I mean, he probably thought he was going to knock you out.
No, so he actually came up to me after the fight. His coach did, and his coach, he kind of gave me some respect. He's like, hey, mad respect for you for stepping in on 5 minutes notice. He said, I asked him, I was like, what was your advice to your fighter walking in? He said, my advice to my fighter was, this guy doesn't kickbox. I've never heard of where he's from. Come in there, knock him out first round.
Yeah, you're thinking that. That's what I would think. Oh, this guy's he's gonna take
Just
3
knock him
punches
out.
and he's gonna be out. And now the local guys.
It goes to round 2, and he comes out round 2. So I should add this. At the end of round 1, right, I hit him with a really hard side kick to the gut, and then the bell rings. So I turn around to go walking back to my corner, and he lunges at me to try and punch me in the back of the head. So he was really mad at that
pissed.
point. So he came out round 2, and he went for a glove touch, right? So I put my left hand up for a glove touch. Well, he grabs my front hand with his front hand, and he pulls it down, and he just hits me with a massive right hook right on the jaw.
Whoa, sucker punched you.
Oh, yeah, no, he rung my... So that got me mad, so I was like, screw it. I'm not going to try and be nice anymore. We're just going to go. So we're going, and I'm just hitting him as hard as I can. I'm headhunting at this point, right, because I'm angry.
You're like, okay, you're going for blood.
Yeah. So, end of the second round, he's all bloody. He had a broken nose, swollen eyes. He can't breathe. He's bleeding everywhere. There's blood all over the ring. And I look down at myself, and I'm like, God, I'm covered in blood. I must be leaking really bad, right? But at this point, I was still mad at him for sucker punching me in the second round. And he's over there looking worried because, you broke your nose. You can't breathe anymore, especially with a mouth guard in.
Blinded and everything. Yeah.
And I was dead at this point, too, because I hadn't had a fight week or conditioning for it, right? So we're both dead. And I was like, screw it. I'm going to come out of this third round, and I'm going to pull a massive movie moment. I'm going to pull This Is Sparta. I'm just going to front kick him, right? So he comes out of the first 2 rounds, he came out of his corner like running at me, ready to beat on me. The third one, he kind of stayed back. So I walked up to him, and he put his hand up for the glove touch. So I shook my head no as I was walking across the ring, and he puts his hands up, and I just blasted him with a front kick. He went into the cage, down on the ground, and I looked at him, and through my duct tape mouth guard, I was like, yeah, get up. I'm not going to say that word because it was a heat of the moment thing, right?
Wow.
But he got back up. We got through the third round, whatever. Judges gave me a scorecard. He ended up winning in the score by like 1 point, which is whatever. I didn't train for it. I was just out there having fun. But it was a great night. And then at the end of the night, I went into the bathroom, which is the locker room at the event center that they were going to, right? And all these guys ran up and grabbed me, and they just threw me up. I was like, what are you guys doing? I was like, I lost by a point in the scorecards. They're like, dude, that was awesome. I was like, awesome. I was like, I need to go clean all my blood off me right now. They're like, where are you bleeding from? I was like, I don't know. So they checked me out, and they're like, dude, you're not bleeding from anywhere. So I was covered in that guy's
Oh
blood.
my God.
Pretty bad.
I think that's even better. That's even better.
You got the victory kill, I guess. Even the fans, like the fans at that point had to be cheering for you too, right?
Oh, absolutely. They were loving it. It was a great time. But I went and I took a little like sink shower, washed all his blood off of like my chest and my arms and whatever. And I threw back on my cowboy boots and jeans, and I went back out to the medic table. I'm sitting there, and somebody from the crowd's like, hey, this guy just fought, blah, blah, blah. So people started yelling at me like, good job, blah, blah, blah. I was like, cool, this is awesome, right? Unbeknownst to me, they had taken an unscheduled 15-minute break to clean the ring because there was so much blood all over it.
Oh my God.
Which I at that point, I was like, man, oof.
You got him good.
Maybe I shouldn't have hit him that hard. I started feeling bad, right? At the end of the night, they took a vote, and it was a poll from all the audience of, fighter of the night. And the promoter had walked up to me. He's like, hey, dude. He's like, here's an extra $300 on top of what I'm paying you. I was like, what's this for? He's like, oh, here's a medal too. He's like, the crowd voted, and they voted you as their favorite fighter of the night. I was like, that's awesome.
That is so awesome.
Just going to sit and basically watch a fight ringside to fighting and
it's that
winning.
Karate and stuntman experience and showman experience.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. No, I started doing shows actually when I was about 8 years old. I was 8 years old, and my sensei, his name's Juan, he's like second father to me. And we were doing a demonstration at the National Night Out in Beecher. And, 8-year-old me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go break my board. I'm ready, blah, blah, blah. And he's sick as a dog. So he's like, you know what? He goes out there, not a word to me, right? Ladies and gentlemen, introducing your MC for the night, Joseph Huskisson. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, Mom, what's an MC? She's like, you'll learn when you're older, but that's the person who talks at a show, right?
Yeah.
So he walks to the back of the stage and he hands me a microphone. I'm like, dude, what's this for? He's like, go out there. I was like, no. So he grabs me and he just throws me out on the stage. Wow. That was my first performance experience. I got thrown out on the stage, all, ad-lib.
They're just like, okay, this is what we're doing, and you have to be like...
Yeah, at 8 years old. It was my first time out on stage in front of a bunch of people talking. So. Well,
you're a very good talker for even a young man. There's no likes or uhs. You are very concise and dialed in. Yeah. I can tell that right from you. You're a great communicator. You already have that going. I can see you being a guy who'd be great for radio.
Absolutely. I had the worst stage fright of my life at 8 years old, and after that, I'm like, oh, that's a piece of cake. Yeah. That's fine.
You got to get through it, and then you just kind of incorporated everything you learned from that point, including just even leading up to that fight to where round 3, had you won, yeah, it would have been great, and it probably would have been like, what, maybe another $50 or something more. But
no, you get paid the same, win or loss. So I didn't care.
Yeah, it kind of works out good.
Screw it, you know?
gave him a clinic. But that's what's fun about it is that like that loss, just like even with any of the big things, with even Karate Kid, with Cobra Kai, everyone loved Johnny because he had lost, and we always liked Cobra Kai. We sympathized with Cobra Kai even in the 80s. When I grew up as a little kid watching Karate Kid, we all thought we knew karate. We clearly did not. Like we were just, it was so stupid. It was, then they came out with all these cheesy 80 ninja movies that we just sucked and absorbed right in. But then it's like they came back with it, this revival. It got so fun and exciting because it gave his side. And then he gets to build on all of this fun stuff that went along with it. And then to see it all of a sudden culminate to where it's like, holy shit, I'm sitting in here with a guy who's worked with those guys. He's actually been on the set. He's done it. He's like, and like you said, yeah, it's a lot of standing. Most movies are. I mean, that's what I've learned. I did an extra movie and they kept us. They sat us in Excalibur. We sat there for 14 hours. They called a handful of people every now and then that got to get pulled in. Everyone else sat there for another 3 or 4 until they said, all right, go home.
Stage acting's the same, too. It's ridiculous.
It was an awesome experience being on set down in Atlanta since I knew one of the actors because she had come to our dojo to train.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And her name's Una. Super awesome person. I love her to death. She had actually told me one day, she's like, yeah, I'm going to introduce you to everybody. So she went and she introduced me to everybody. And I'm like, oh, my God, a little bit starstruck because I had watched the show previously. Yeah. And she had told me a couple days later, she's like, hey, I want to go tricking. And tricking is basically gymnastics, but all the flips are off axis. And you also add break dancing into the mix and martial arts. So it's flipping, kicking,
Are
spinning.
you guys just doing this like on a beachside somewhere or?
No, there's this great gym out in California and down in Atlanta called JAM, and it's called Joining All Movement is what the acronym stands for. But we went there, and she's like, hey, can I bring some of my friends with. I was like, yeah, sure. Well, sure as hell, she shows up with some of the other cast from the movie.
Whoa.
Oh my
I was
god.
like, oh.
And did you recognize them right off the bat? Or?
Absolutely. Everybody is so recognizable from that set.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. And of course, at that moment, I was like, you told me you were bringing your friend. You didn't tell me you were bringing like
a movie cast. Yeah.
But it was an absolutely great time. You know, it always has been, always will be, hopefully. I'm hoping that I go far in the stunt world. My goal is to end up coordinating shows and maybe become a director when I get old. Too old to die on camera, you know?
Yeah. Well, you also have side hobbies. You were saying something about doing photography, but then, like, I can already tell that you have the art for direction just based on what you visually see. You have a vision.
My future will hopefully consist of, I want to open my own karate school. And
cool.
I would like to eventually pass it down to somebody who is training there to run it, so then I can continue to chase my dreams further and further and still have that passive source of income. But for right now, I'm just grinding every week, training and doing side jobs. You know, you would never expect somebody who's a world champion and aspiring stuntman and, you know, fighter to be also a mechanic who went to college to work on airplanes, who does fences.
Yeah.
You know,
you're so well-rounded to where it's like, oh, this guy's so normal, and just the way you present yourself, and you got such a great story, and then it's like, oh, by the way, I have all this other stuff I'm working on, and that's so cool to see. That is such a great thing. I mean, I want to help promote it any way I can. I mean, other than just paying you to fix my brake cylinder or whatever. But, you know, that's what's cool about it, is that I always felt like podcasting, just like even with what you do and what you are, is it's networking. You put yourself out there and you meet more people, and it's just like you said, you're like, you weren't planning on stopping here. We weren't planning on doing a little impromptu podcast.
And shout out to my brother, man. Like my brother Josh for like letting us know that.
Yeah, how do you know Josh? How many cars or trucks have you had to fix for Josh?
I
did you have to kick his ass? Did you have to
I
give
don't
him a
know,
roundhouse
probably.
kick him, you know?
I'm sure he would be down for it.
I have actually never fixed a car for Josh. Josh has just been over to my house because his wife and my mom are friends and they work together.
Oh, yeah.
And he had seen some of my projects out while I was at my house, and he had asked me about it. And there's actually another person at the karate school who I'm guessing he overheard offer me a job as a mechanic for heavy machinery. So that's how I'm assuming, but I have no idea.
What's the coolest thing you ever broke in karate? Like, did they ever just like light some blocks on fire or something for you?
Actually, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I completely ruined it.
Yeah, it was 2 cinder blocks. It was a super fun time. The only thing not fun about it is that I was on fire after I broke them. That was my first fire burn. And actually, soon I'm waiting for a workshop to come around. My good buddy, Greg Paul Jasek, who's another stuntman, he runs a whole burn school and everything called Sweet Spot of the Flame. And they actually light people on fire for movies and everything. So when he runs a workshop, cool. I'm excited to get in there and get lit on fire with him.
So you're going to be getting lit on fire soon in the next movie. We'll see you for Chicago Fire probably at some point.
Hopefully. Speculatively, I would love to work on Chicago Fire and be lit on fire.
When you were on the set of the Chicago, was it the police one or the fire one?
I've been on all 3 of the local Chicago shows.
There's the Chicago Med one too. That's right. Okay, you're obviously not like jump kicking people in an alley in downtown Chicago.
Nope.
But they probably do. They have you just like on as like kind of a background. One of my friends who was in radio, they had him dress up as a cop, and he did get his like a moment where they showed him there, and it's like he says something like, "Wait, you can't go that way," and then of course the guy runs that way anyways.
The most like insane thing that I've done was on Chicago PD, and I was literally sitting in a seat in a crashed train car on a crossover episode that they did.
Oh god!
And the window broke, and it was next to me. That was it. It's nothing huge here from what I've gathered.
Yeah.
No.
So you jump in and you're just doing that stuff as the extra. They obviously know about your background and everything, just from not only the stuff you've put out and promoted, and you give them like your portfolio, I guess, that shows them. They always want to know, okay, how tall are you? What color hair do you got? It's fun to see you expand into that. But while you're in there on the set, is there anything cool or wild that's happened? Has anyone pulled you into a dive bar or anything?
The craziest thing that ever happened, I was 16, and this is right before SAG-AFTRA went on strike. So I was trying to get my union card for SAG, because stuntmen and actors are union. I was sitting on set, and it was a high school bakery scene, right? Funny story, everybody on TV looks a lot bigger than they are. You can pick me out from a mile away. Everybody else, like, 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", and then you got me, a behemoth, where you can see my shoulders down in some of the shots, and everybody else's heads and everything are in there. But I was on set, and they
just dig a hole for you to stand in.
I wish.
Put them down a notch.
I gotta be way far in the back to see my head, I guess.
Oh.
There were 2 extras on set with me because I was an extra at the time on this set, and I looked like a high schooler. They had me shave and everything. And they gave them opposing walking pads while they were trying to fight to see who could get in front of the camera. Well, they ended up bumping shoulders. Well, the one guy, I guess, took it really hard, and he turned around and he just teed off on the other extra. And of course, it was my first time. I thought it was part of the scene. I was like, oh crap, this looks like cool. This is what I want to do under stunts.
Like bar stools flying across the scene out of nowhere.
Well, then security rushes in. Then security rushes in and absolutely just spears one of the guys. They both get thrown off the set. And I didn't hear anyone say cut the entire time. So I was like, that is amazing acting right there.
They should have had that in a movie.
Right.
Well, afterwards, they sent us all back to holding for an hour. And they're like, guys, we're sorry about the altercation, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, one of the guys tried to pull a knife out and stab the other guy.
Whoa.
What?
Right.
Well, it was good security was there.
Yeah, and I was sitting there. I was like, oh, that was real? That's even cooler.
All right.
Yeah, that's
I
real
thought
and
that
as
was
raw as it
acting,
gets.
but okay.
Absolutely. The other thing that I realized is, you ever see in the movies where they make fun of the wardrobe people and it's the little French guy? The super short French guy who's like,
Yeah.
that's real.
They actually do make fun of him and give him shit anyways?
No. In the movies
They
that
have
make fun of him, the little French guy is real. Every set I've ever been on, there's
They
been...
always had a little French guy.
Yeah, there's always been a little, a super short guy who's in wardrobe, and he's like, honey, I love this on you. And I'm like, oh, thanks.
He's
I've never been
Pepe
called
Le
honey
Pew, only
before.
dressed up, for the movie set.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
As we wrap things up here, knowing that we're hitting around that 30 mark, is there anything I missed? Go ahead and give us something. Let us know what you'd want to put out there on top of the world.
What I would like to put out there is the same thing that I always put out there. Everybody in the world is just a normal person. Doesn't matter what you do, who you are what you are. There's no reason to ever be uppity or anything. The biggest thing that I've always tried to do for myself is don't come off as somebody who's somebody. Come off as just a random guy. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they realize that someone is of a different echelon, or I don't want to say upper echelon, but someone is different from the normal person, they treat them differently. And I just think that's terrible. I think everybody should be treated the same way.
Yeah, no, that's a very cool, solid way of looking at it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. 2-time karate world champion, stuntman, actor in the hit series Cobra Kai, and he's also my mechanic, Joe Huskisson. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And be sure to check out talesfromadivebar.com. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a good rating on the episode if you liked it. And we'll also have some of Joe's random YouTube footage or whatever he chooses to share embedded there at the website, talesfromadivebar.com. Take care. Have a good night. Drink up.
Tales from a dive bar. Yeah, come and listen for free. Get your ass on your couch, eat some food, and listen to us three.